10 chances to win £500 to spend on your heart and home. Every RSA home insurance policy taken out in May and June through the Nottingham will be entered into the prize draw where 10 different people will win. Speak to your local branch or get an online instant quote now. For full terms and conditions, visit thenottingham.com.
No, I was, like I said, I think I mentioned I've scrolled through a couple and seen them on Twitter, and I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. And then sure enough, got a message from you. So
I imagine there's quite a few people that I wonder when that's coming for me.
Oh, yeah.
I'll track people down on every social media platform that I can get to. I'll either go, if I can't get them on social media, I get them through Goody. So I have a way into everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I was just chatting with Goody last week, actually. So that's funny.
Yeah, he's like my agent for this.
Oh, really?
But that means because he does stuff for me, I have to then ask you later on to say nice things about him. So it's kind of a trade-off, which is unfortunate, I know. But
that's gonna be tricky.
Well, for some reason, everyone always does say nice things about him. I'm waiting for someone to finally chirp him, but no one does.
Oh, geez. Well.
So you could break the mold down the line. When we get there, you can.
Yeah, I might have to. I don't know. This is going to be part of the thing too. Like I know my memory is the worst, so it's gonna be a struggle to take some, to extract some.
I've got all my notes here. So I'll
let you lead the way then. And
you just got. I'll set the table. You just got to add the color. That's all it is.
I can do that. Yeah.
So can you believe that it's been about 14 years since you first signed in Nottingham?
No, I can't. It's, I think back at, well, not just Nottingham, but a lot of different things. And it seems like as you get older, you have that, you kind of benchmark different things like graduating high school and, moving away for the first time. And you just think, geez, that was 20 years ago. That was 25 years ago. And then, of course, coming to England for the first time, 14. That's crazy. Like sometimes it feels so long ago, but sometimes it feels like it was just yesterday too. So it's weird.
And what was it that brought you to the UK? Because that was your first venture outside of North America, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. I'd kind of just made my way through over here in the minors and, the East Coast Hockey League and the American Hockey League and, kind of bounced those up and then back down and then made one run to the Calder Cup with Milwaukee, which was Nashville's farm team in 2006, I guess, at the end in that spring. And then never got that summer, didn't really get any opportunities to, sign a deal with anyone at the NHL level or the AHL level. So I just thought it was a good time to start looking elsewhere. And I had an agent. I don't even know how I got in touch with him, a guy that was living over in Europe. And I had reached out to him to start looking around. And it was literally his first opportunity was Nottingham. And I had some friends over here that had played in Basingstoke and, well, Jim Shepard, as people would know, and Brad Cruikshank, who people would also know. So I was skating with them, and I brought up Nottingham. And I said, yeah, it's a great place, big arena, great team. So it didn't take long to make the choice, for sure.
So was it a case of I imagine at that point did you know anything about hockey in the UK, or was it a case of they play hockey over there?
The second one. I had no idea. Literally, I had no idea. I brought it up to these guys. I'm like, there's hockey in England? And they're like, yeah, it's actually a pretty good league. There's some good teams and some good places. I was just like, I had no idea, zero idea. And then it kind of makes you feel stupid because then you go over there and you hear about all this history. And, that was the big anniversary year. I think it was 40, wasn't it? Or 60 or
it must. I know we're having some kind of. We've got an anniversary this year because there's two different ones. You've got when the sport returned to Nottingham and when it first came into Nottingham. So you've got two different ones that are not very far apart. So I don't. Gary knows all just it. He tells
the fans are probably gonna hate me for that. I don't remember, but whatever that year.
Hate both of us.
We had a special jersey. It was either 40 or 60. I can't remember what it was, and I was like, I can't believe it. This team's been around this long and there's this much history with this league. And I had no idea, I always thought I was I loved hockey growing up and thought I knew a lot about hockey and different things, but I had no idea.
So then you get to Nottingham and then you finally get to, I imagine Mike Ellis is the coach back then. He's told you all the things about the city and the arena, but then you actually finally get to lay eyes on the arena. What did you make of that?
Well, I was excited because you never know, right? Like I think I probably had gone on the website and kind of looked around, and I'm sure there's some pictures of the arena. So yeah, a pretty good idea of what I was getting into. And obviously, I had never been to. I don't think I had been even to Europe at that point in my life. So just showing up, and unfortunately, I had to miss the first. I think the team went away to France for a preseason tournament that I had to miss. I was late getting there, so I was a little bit bummed out about that. But then yeah, just getting into town and being in a real English city, and then there's this huge arena, this modern arena that you're like, okay, well, that's awesome, and 7,000 seats, and like, yeah, okay, I can handle this. So it was I was pleasantly surprised. It was even better than I thought it was going to be based on pictures and talking to people. So I was pretty excited about that.
And then obviously Nottingham has the nicer, and there are a few teams that do, but then you kind of get that wake up call when you go somewhere like Edinburgh. How did you deal with that kind of shock to the system?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really remember it. I remember being in those places for the first time, thinking like, oh man, like I grew up in a smaller town close to Calgary called Okotoks, and I remember thinking, man, the rink I played in minor hockey was better than this. Like, so it was. I mean, but being professionals, you obviously have to deal with it and play no matter what. Obviously, it's nicer and a little bit easier to play in the big arenas and everything, but at the end of the day, they're 2 points in their league game. But coming into some of these places with like Edinburgh, I think one of the guys had a dress in the toilet. There just wasn't enough room. I think we stuck James Neal back there for a couple games just to make some room for the rest of us. But so it was definitely a little different because coming through junior and then the first few years or 5 years here in North America, yeah, you played in some smaller places, but nothing quite like that. So it was a little bit of an adjustment for sure, but you got used to it. And there was the best experience was Whitley. Was it Whitley Bay? I think
Whitley Bay.
the Newcastle. Was it
Yeah.
Newcastle? Or,
Yeah,
yeah.
where the red line didn't go all the way across the ice.
Yeah, that place was special for sure. So that was yeah, I think that was even my third year in Nottingham, and even then I was like, oh, I thought I'd seen it all to this point. But
Craig Kowalski told me when he saw Whitley Bay, he almost quit on the spot.
yeah, maybe like, oh Jesus, come to this now. It might be time to shut it down. But no, it was fine.
And then the other end of the spectrum is the Panthers Steelers rivalry. Now, at what point do you get told about those games and what they mean and what you get? What like can you prepare for what you're going to go into with those games?
Yeah, I think so because played in a lot of different places that have rivalry and stuff. So the Panthers Steelers was no different than a few rivalries that I've been a part of in the past. So hearing about it, but it makes you excited too because not every team has a rival like that, right? So to be able to have those games that they're special and marked on the calendar, and you're looking forward to a Saturday night either there or in Nottingham. So those are the ones you circle and you look forward to. So it was nice to have that rivalry. And then I remember going to that first year, I personally knew a few of the guys on that team too. So that makes it a little more fun. And yeah, those are the ones you look forward to for sure.
But when as that's your like first year out of North America, how important? And obviously in this country, the core guys who are always there are the Brits. They're the guys who come back year on year and year. How important are guys like Danny Myers, David Clark, Paul Moran, Matthew Myers? How important are they to helping you settle in that first team you were in?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, those are the guys you kind of lean on to get the lay of the land, kind of, and they were always really helpful about pointing you the right direction. Not even at the rink, but outside the rink too, pointing you in the right direction around town. And if you needed to go talk to someone, they would say, yeah, you need to talk to this person. He's over here or wherever, right? So, and especially guys like that had been around for a number of years before we got there, because obviously they see imports kind of rolling in every year, different guys rolling in. So I feel like it's almost part of their job as like a welcoming committee to take on the new Canadians or Americans or whoever's coming in as imports to the new batch of guys coming in. You got to start from scratch and show them the ways, and and obviously they've been a part of all the rivalries, so you get to hear the stories of past games against the Steelers or whoever. And so yeah, but it's huge. Having guys with that experience already would be a lot different than 15, 16 new guys coming in and not having any idea what to expect.
And did the standard of the British players surprise you at all?
Totally. Like I said, I had no idea there was hockey in England, so I was like going in. I was like, oh, well, what's it going to be like with the, obviously seeing some of the guys coming in my first year, like Corey had I think led the East Coast League in defenseman scoring or something like that. he was sure to tell us, of course, when we all showed up, but whatever it was. But yeah, you had no idea, right? So stepping on the ice the first time and seeing the guys like, well, Clarkey was, an amazing talent, obviously, and Matthew Myers and Danny and all these guys were good hockey players. So, it's like, okay, we got a team here. We can, this is good. So, and then we had some younger guys like James Neal, who I think he was only 16 at the time, and playing with a big team, and that was pretty impressive too. So it was a nice surprise because, like I said, going in, you had no idea what to expect of the caliber, right? So that was good.
Now, I've spoken to a lot of guys, and I'll get on to Corey a bit later when we talk about 2009, 2010. We'll go into detail on Corey Neilson then. But your first coach in Nottingham was Mike Ellis, and he's not a guy we've heard a lot about on this show. Can you just tell me a bit about Mike Ellis, the coach? What was he like?
Well, he was good in his own right. I mean, the one thing I'll give him credit for is I think the reason why we were able to win the playoffs that year, like we didn't have the best team. Like I think we finished 5th or 6th that year in the standings. I mean, we had a good group of players and whatever. We made some key additions, obviously bringing in Rastel that year, and Joe Cardarelli came in, I think, pretty early, but then Trevor Gallant later in the year. So I mean, we had some good players, and he had us playing a pretty defensive system. We were playing a left wing lock, which was kind of out of the box a little bit, but not unheard of. So that really helped, and he was good because he was just kind of finished playing, I think, from what I remember. Like I think he was playing in Bracknell, and
then he was in and out of the lineup in Nottingham with injuries and stuff, wasn't he?
Yeah, that kind of weirded me out a little bit at first, but the whole player coach thing, you don't see a whole lot of that over here in North America. So I remember I got hurt at some point my first year, in the first couple of months, hurt my knee, and I was out for a couple of weeks, and Mike was like, "Oh, I'll just play." I was like, "What? Okay, whatever." But he was good. No, like he was good with the guys. Like he was still kind of a younger guy, and I know him and Danny had played together, I think, in Bracknell, so they were buddies. And so yeah, no, he was great, and he got along really well with the guys. But he was able to have that separation of being a buddy, but also being the coach, which is important because especially with a player coach, right? Like you still have to have that separation, right?
It can't be an easy dynamic.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It would be tough because I pride myself on being one of the guys and one of the boys in the dressing room, and so to take that kind of step of being okay, well, now I'm the coach. I gotta put myself here when have that respect level and everything too. So it's got to be tricky, I'm sure.
And then that year in Nottingham, you had a career high in goals. You scored 42. I think you played a lot of the year with Joe Corey and Rod Stevens, I think was your sentiment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Was that like part of the reason for coming to Europe? Because like when you're playing in North America, you can get shackled into being put in a role, whereas then you get over here and you can express yourself a bit more. Was that something you were looking to do?
No, actually, sorry to shut down your question there.
I thought that was a great build-up as well.
Yeah, I hope I didn't ruin a couple other leads that you had going on. But honestly, no, it's not something I thought about. Like I said, I had no idea what British hockey was like. I didn't expect to come over there and score 40 goals and anything like that. That's not even the reason. The main reason, like I said, was just to do something. My dream of the NHL was realistically over, I thought. So it was just a new opportunity and something to focus on. I had some friends that had previously gone over, and obviously with a different lifestyle and different kind of arrangements as far as being paid and things like that, it was time for a new chapter. So the fact that it worked out, that I was able to come over and play with some good players and score a bunch of goals and stuff, that was definitely unexpected. Obviously I was hoping to come over and have success and be a top player and all of that, but yeah, I wasn't looking to change my game or anything. It's just kind of the way it worked out.
And one of the things that North Americans have to get used to when they come to the Elite League is that the league trophy is the main trophy. How hard is that to get your head around after you grow up fixated on playoffs?
Yeah, it was definitely different. Because I've been in many situations in the past and everyone knows it's not the first place team that goes on and wins the Stanley Cup or whatever trophy that you're playing for, whatever league you're in. It's kind of the team that gets hot at the end of the year and puts it all together to make a playoff run too, right? So to have that focus of, okay, we need to finish first overall in the season, it was different for a lot of ways, but mainly because the regular season's a grind, right? So if you talk to any NHL player or junior player here, like the main focus is to get into the playoffs, right? That's your main focus, because anyone can win it once you're in it, right? So it's just a matter of, like I said, getting hot at the right time, injuries or whatever. So, but to have that focus on every regular season game being that important, because like I said, it's a grind. Like, you know, you have a war against Sheffield on a Saturday night, and then you got to drive to Hull the next day and play. Those aren't the easiest games to get up for, if I'm going to be honest, right? So obviously we're professionals, we're being paid to play. The fans expect you to be ready every game, but the reality is, when it's January and you're 30 to 40 games into a season and you got a Sunday night game in Hull, you're thinking, man, oh man, how am I going to get up for this game? Like, this is not easy. But those 2 points could be the matter of winning that league trophy or whatever, right? So it's just, the mentality was hard to get behind. And I think if you ask any Canadian, it would be, or I shouldn't say Canadian, any import, I guess, or American or whatever, that's a challenge. And the average person would say, what's the big deal? Like, it's just, you should play hard every game, and which is true. But it's tough, and that's what makes it tough to win that league championship, is because it's a grind.
And had you ever played in an arena quite like Hull, where they had a disco ball at centre ice and probably the lowest roof in the world?
Yeah, I know. There was a lot of firsts for me in the UK, and definitely the disco ball was one of them. And the other one that was my favorite was the public skating before the game. You know, letting the public come in and skate laps around the ice for an hour before, and then, you know, some of these places didn't have the best ice, so the ice would be all chewed up. And, you know, I think it was Manchester did that, Hull did that, a couple other places just had the old public skating before the pros went out and played.
Oh, the wonderful world of British ice hockey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot of firsts, like I said. So.
Were there any rinks that you liked going to? Like, I feel like, I can't imagine why, but a lot of people say Belfast is one of their favorite road trips.
Yeah, that seems great. Yeah.
I know, I can't work it out for the life of
To
me.
the arena, or yeah,
Or Rockies, maybe.
Great dressing room. Great dressing room.
Well, it's better dressing rooms than some of the rinks I've heard about. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, because obviously every rink in the Elite League is different. You go to Nottingham, it's all nice. You go to Belfast, it's nice. But then you go to like Coventry, and it's this hostile like cauldron where everyone's on top of you. Like, did you enjoy the differences that you got to experience?
Yeah, for different reasons too. Like, obviously, the the Sheffield and Newcastle was one. That was a big arena. In Belfast, I mean, those are nice because a lot of us are used to coming over from bigger arenas and things like that, and just that comfort level of playing. But I like Coventry too. I like playing there, the small barn, and the people, you know, right on top of the bench basically, and, you know, shouting at you the whole game. I mean, yeah, if you can't get worked up to play a game like that, then you may be in the wrong sport, because it was pretty easy to get up for those games with everything that was going on. And we had a pretty good rivalry with Coventry in those days too, with some of those teams. And so those are easy ones to get up for too. And you know, some of those smaller arenas where they can pack all the people in makes for a good atmosphere. And there's something to be said for that, as opposed to going to like Newcastle, where there's 1,000 fans in a 10,000 seat arena or whatever it was, right? You know, it gets quiet, and you can really hear the puck echoing off the boards and stuff like that. It's just quiet. And so some of those smaller ones where they pack the people into are always fun.
Do you remember in Hull that you had to walk past the home fans to get onto the ice? That was always an interesting little journey.
Yeah, right through the crowd, right? Right through the people. Yeah, that's always fun too. Just, you never know if you're going to get something thrown at you. Yeah, I forgot about that. No, that was a nice touch too. Yeah.
And then obviously back then, like Coventry were the standard at that point. They had like Calder and Carlson and Danny Stewart like running everything. And you said that you got really fired up for those games. Was it because, like, I'm guessing you just get fired up to play the quote unquote top team in the league?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like, it's so easy. And I knew a lot of those guys from overseas too, or back home here. They were top players, like Sylvain Cloutier, you know, he won a Calder Cup over here. You know, great player. Calder was great over here in North America. Trevor Koenig, you know, and especially then being top of the league, like, you know, you're going in there, and if you're not at your best, then you're going to get completely embarrassed. So that just automatically gets you fired, or me anyway, gets you fired up and ready to go, because you never want to be embarrassed. So yeah, and plus they were, leading the league for most of the time that I was there, and having and all those great players. Those are fun.
Those are the years where it kind of the tide started to turn. Didn't that's when Nottingham started to, like, whenever Coventry came to Nottingham, they weren't having it their own way anymore. Like, and it's about that time when that dynamic changed, where Nottingham was starting to get the better of the Blaze.
Yeah, and that's a classic kind of sports. It's kind of the way it goes. You got to kind of learn the ropes. You learn from the best, and it's the classic Edmonton Oilers in the early '80s. Losing to the New York Islanders in the Stanley Cup final, and then the next year coming back and beating them. They just learned from the grizzled veterans, kind of, that I think the Islanders had won 4 cups in a row, and that was their 4th in a row, and the Oilers just were the new kids, and got spanked pretty good the first time they went to the final, but that's what you learn from, right? So it's kind of the same mentality where you're seeing, okay, Coventry's winning these league championships. I can't remember if they'd won the playoff championships or not, but a group of guys that won there, but also won over in North America too. Like Uche was the captain of the team that won the Calder Cup, which is the second biggest trophy in hockey trophy in North America, right? So guys like that know how to win. So that's how you learn, is by playing against the best.
And one of the other strange things about the Elite League is, and it's a very British thing to do, is to have a competition within a competition, the Challenge Cup. Now, back then as well, I believe you were doubling up games. So some games were Elite League and Cup games.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, it's different again. But it's good because, like I said, the regular season's a grind, right? So to have an extra little competition in there to make games a little extra meaningful, I guess you could say. And yeah, that's funny. I forgot that some of them were doubled up too. That's funny. But anyways, it was interesting and neat, and just to
it's
be
a hard
able to play.
competition to win.
Well, yeah, it is, because you're kind of going through this playoff format, in the middle of the regular season, and it's good in the sense that it keeps you a little extra motivated to you're playing. It's nice to have these 3 different trophies, I guess, that you're kind of playing for and everything too. So it was a fun format. I enjoyed it.
And it also gets you used to aggregate scores.
Right.
Which is another new thing.
Oh, that's a funny story. Yeah, you asked about funny stories, and I was thinking like all night, and I actually texted Danny Myers last night. I'm like, hey man, I need some funny stories, and he didn't get back to me.
Should have texted
Goody. Yeah, I should have texted Goody. Yeah, but we were in. So the first year I was there, I mentioned I got hurt. I hurt my knee, and we were playing Sheffield in the first round of the Challenge Cup or whatever it was. So I was on the bench coaching. Like, I was in a suit and at least acting as coach. And Mike was playing. So we were the first leg in Sheffield, and we were down by 1, and there was a minute left, and Evan Lindsay was our goalie. And so I was just trying to be all coachy, and I pulled Evan, like, with a minute, you're down by 1 with a minute left, you pull the goalie, right? So I was like, Lids, come on, let's go. And he's a little halfway out, and then Ellis was like, no, it's aggregate. We can't give them an empty netter. I was like, oh crap. I mean, okay, go back. So yeah, but again, so you're not used to playing aggregate score in a game, right? So I wasn't even thinking. I just went back to instincts and pulled the goalie with a minute left, and yeah, that was a good thing they didn't score, because obviously I think we won. I think we ended up winning that round anyway, if I can remember right. But
potentially, I know you definitely won the year after, because there's a very funny incident in the final from the year after. It involves Ryan Schmier, if you can remember.
Good. Are we going to get to that? I don't remember, but
we'll get to it. I just want to get to I want to get to Elite League playoffs. So it was your first year in the league. You won the playoffs in the UK, and it's the only thing I've ever heard it compared to is the Frozen Four. That's the only other comparison I've heard.
Yeah.
What were you told before you went into this? It's a celebration of the season, really, is what it is. But to win the last game of the season always is a good feeling. So, what were you told by people in the room? What did you know going into that whole weekend?
Just into the final 4 weekend, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I was going to say is leading up into the playoffs, like, because the first round is just kind of home and away aggregate, right? And the feedback is we just get to the weekend. Like, it's a fun, awesome weekend. There's fans from every team. in our rink, there's people coming from everywhere to stay. It's just it's a great time. So the original message, like, let's get to the weekend. Like, we got to get to the weekend. That's the fun part of the season. And then, leading up to that, it's of course it's totally different. Like, you'd have 2 games the one day and in the rink, and then obviously the final Sunday, but completely different mentality, which we knew going in, but still, like, leading up to it, like, you're used, from being back here, you're used to the grind of the season, and then you get into playoff series or whatever, and then with the league meeting so much, and then the playoff being such a short little 2 weekend thing, it's like, and also the message was be prepared, because it could be over quick too. Like, you play your 2 games, if you don't win the aggregate, then you're done and the season's over. So you definitely have to, if you finish the season, then you're right away into that. You just definitely have to get your mindset that you have 2 weekends of hockey to play and be ready for it.
And then one of the things that it's universally accepted that championships should never be decided on shootouts, but I imagine you have a bit of a different viewpoint on that.
Yeah, obviously being on the right end of it was I'm fine with it. Yeah. No. Yeah, there's a lot of things about that format that I find funny, like, but whatever, it is what it is. Like, we all, as you probably saw, we all treated it like it was our Stanley Cup, so
You have to.
which most teams do. Like, it's the last game of the year, you get a trophy, like, that's kind of what we're used to. So I always find it funny that the teams, like, whoever wins the league championship, you win the league, you have a huge celebration, you probably have some drinks in the dressing room after or whatever, but then you got to go play on Sunday, and the next day, another, I'm sure, which is never a good game by any means, but I always thought that was funny. But then, I mean, it's playoffs is playoffs, no matter if it's, best of 7 series or a weekend tournament. It's just to be able to win that last game and lift a trophy, and then whatever, have a shootout in it. Like, if that's what it takes, and that's what it takes. And if you're on the losing end, you might think, oh, shootout's stupid, bad way to lose or decide it. But just another interesting, just added to the list of first time things for me. So.
And then you mentioned him earlier. A key person in that whole situation from the quarterfinal to the final was Rasto. Now, we've been putting a lot of classic games on YouTube and things, so people are getting to watch, like, these players that, because this stuff has never been out there before and things. And I'm going to say, not the most conventional netminder, and one hell of a character just from watching him play the game. What did you make of him?
Yeah, right from day one. And it's funny, I had a similar situation when I was playing in junior, which we won't get into, but we had a Russian kid come in the first month, like, directly from Russia. And he showed up literally while we were warming up on the ice for a game, and he came on the ice. But I won't get into that, but it's a similar story. It's just this guy coming from, I don't even know where Rasto came from. Was it Czech Republic or Slovakia or whatever? And comes in, the guy can't speak English. He looks like he's about 50 years old. Like, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, really?
He's tiny.
And he's tiny. I'm like, all right. Like, I guess I can't really remember, but I guess things hadn't been going. I don't know. Like, I knew Evan Lindsay pretty well, and, even from before. So, you never want to see someone get released or let go, especially when you're that far from home. But so that kind of sucked, but it is part of the business. So I remember seeing this guy come in, and I was like, okay, this is our solution. But he was amazing, and he's the single reason why I'd say we won that playoffs. Like, he just, I don't know how much business we had being in those games, to be honest, but he was a big part of it.
And then you got the Rasto wave as well.
The Rasto wave, which I always dreaded, but well, because it turned into the man of the match had to go do it, right? So I was like, oh my god. I mean, it wasn't that big a deal, but that was, again, things I'd never seen before, but things that are good for hockey too. Like, at what point would you ever see that where the goalie goes out and gets the fans doing this, and then gets the whole team involved? So you've seen it once. I think the Carolina Hurricanes were doing some stuff
last year. The bunch of jerks. So that's where that came.
Jerks, yeah. So I mean, I think it's good for the game. Everyone sees hockey players as robotic and boring, and and for a long time I think that's how we were taught to be, just boring and don't say too much, whatever. So it's good. I think it's good for the game to see some personality and some flair, and so that was my first kind of intro into that kind of stuff. So it was cool. And then I mean, whatever, man of the match, let's go around and do it eventually. It wasn't that big a deal. I'm not that kind of guy that likes being the center of attention, so
That's weird for a goal scorer.
Yeah, right. Well, I score a goal and everyone comes and hugs, so you're back in a group again. So but yeah, no, it was fun. And Rasta was great. Like he had a good personality in the room once you got to know him, and he opened up a little bit. He was a pretty funny guy too, so it was a good addition for sure.
And then you mentioned about like that is all part of the engaging with the fans and things. And Gary makes sure that the players, all these events that run throughout the season and things, Gary makes sure you're getting out there with the fans and engaging with them. How did you find that side of things? Because that's different as well.
It's different. I mean, it was important too, because at the end of the day, they're the ones paying their money and they're buying the season tickets and they're buying your jerseys, and they expect. It was new for sure. Like typically, I always compare things over here, obviously, but you don't have a whole lot of interaction with. You'll do autograph signing sessions or whatever, but so that was new, but it was fun. Like it's part of the reason I love Nottingham so much was just a great group of local people too, right? So especially being there for 3 years, you get to know people pretty well, and so it's actually nice to go to events and be able to say, hey, oh yeah, how's it going? How's your family? What's happening? And just to develop those relationships a little bit too. A lot of them are fun too. Like you do some of those pub nights or whatever, and you can have a couple beers and play some games and stuff. So that's fun. I mean, so you're not always up for it. Like,
well, you're human at the end of the day, aren't you? You're not always going to be.
Yeah, you have a tough weekend, and then Monday night you got to go to quiz night or something like that with fans. You're just like, oh, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, I just completely crapped the bed on the weekend, didn't score a goal or anything, and now I got to go face all these people. So yeah, there's obviously times like that. They were a little tougher, but for the most part, and they get the team together too, right? It's not like the team's all hanging out together every day of the week too. So it's just another team event where you can hang out with your teammates and have a couple laughs, and that's important too.
And then one of the other things, well, that I always talk about things that surprise people, and it's that how the fans, and it's not just Nottingham, it's a way for other teams' fans as well, travel around the country to watch the team. Like you'll go and play in Edinburgh on a Wednesday night, and you're still going to have 50 to 100 Panthers fans with you, which is crazy because it doesn't really happen in North America.
No, I mean, I'm sure it does to an extent a little bit, but just the commitment level, the people is amazing. Like and that's why and that's why they expect so much out of you too, which is good because they're paying. Not only they're paying for season tickets and jerseys, they're paying for gas money. They're paying for meals, hotels, sometimes go on the road and support the team, and they expect you to play hard, and a little extra motivation for the players too. Like, hey, we got 100 people here from the travel. Like, let's make sure we're good tonight, right? So it was cool to see that commitment level from people that were, and I'm sure there's some people, I never got any stats, but I'm sure there's some people that didn't miss a single game for years, whether it's home or away, right? Like every single game they were at. And and that takes a big sacrifice too. Like people got families and kids, and so that commitment level is pretty cool.
And then obviously after winning the playoffs, were you already on a multi-year deal with Nottingham, or did you sign, or did Gary and Mike slip you a contract during the celebrations of the playoffs?
Yeah, no, it was never a multi-year deal. I know we talked about. I remember my first year, I was at Goody's apartment till late one night, having some pop, and we talked about.
Goody is the center of the party always.
Yeah, I think it was me and Goody and Scott Poundle were just sitting around till the wee hours one night, and
the dynamic duo, Goody and Poundy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Ace and Gary. We were talking about talking to Mike about setting up a multi-year deal, and I don't know. It never happened. I didn't even bring it up because I think at that point it was just better to go year to year anyway, because you never know what's going to come up and everything. But my first few months, I already knew that I loved it there and was really comfortable, and but never happened. So each year, to answer your question, each year was just a new contract. So I think after that first year, I came home, and I can't remember, but I believe it was pretty early. I just figured something out with Mike for the following season, and it didn't take long.
And at what point did you start to get whiff that he was going to make you the captain that year? Because obviously Clarkey went to go and try his arm in Europe. When did you start to get the vibes that was going to happen for you?
I didn't at all, really. I didn't even think about it, to be honest. I just I was at a golf course in the summer, and I can't remember if Mike texted me or called me and just said, I want to make you captain this year. And yeah, and we hadn't talked about it. And maybe that's a lie. Like I'm sure I thought about it, I guess. I didn't expect it or anything like that. Obviously, seeing Clarkie go, I knew it was up for grabs, I guess, but didn't put a whole lot of thought into it until Mike called me and told me he wanted me to be the captain. And obviously, it's a great honor anytime you get chosen for that. So it was pretty cool.
And did that change like how you acted in the room? Did you think, or did you just keep being, Sean McAslan as you were the year before?
Yeah, no, it doesn't change anything, and maybe it does for some people, but I'd want to see the year before I came to Nottingham, and then being assistant captain before, and I try and be a leader, whether I have a letter on my jersey or not, especially at that point, kind of getting a bit older too, and been around a little bit, then it's just kind of natural to, speak up in the dressing room when you think it's needed, and lead by example. So it doesn't change for me. I think you feel more pressure as a leader with a C on your jersey, maybe, but I try to just act the same way as I normally would.
And then there's a bit of change. Obviously, that's your first experience of how the roster changes around that year. Like Mark Levers comes back to Nottingham. Robert Lakovic starts his journey, and he's been there ever since. He's part of the furniture now. Like, can you believe Lacko is now over 30?
No,
that's depressing.
yeah, I know.
And then Mark Richardson comes in as well. So there's all a bit of change. And then guys like Kevin Burgin, Johan Moline join the team. Did it feel different the next year?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're trying to compare it to the team the year before, but it was definitely a lot of, and PC Druin, I think,
at the start of the year, yep.
Come back, yeah, and it was exciting, and I think that year didn't turn out well. We had the Challenge Cup, I guess, but that year didn't turn out, and we might get to that. I don't want to step on your notes or anything here, but
feel free. I jump around all the time, so feel free.
Yeah, the year didn't ultimately end up like we wanted. I know Jim Shepard, I think, started the year. There was a bunch of changes that year, right? So
yeah, especially in defense. There's a lot of changes on defense.
Yeah, the team at the start of the team at the end of the year was quite different than
the goalie changed quickly as well.
Oh, Tom Askey, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, but it was a good group. Like, it was an exciting group. Like, I knew at least who a bunch of the guys were, like Kevin Burgin for sure.
You played against him, and he played Johan the year before as well.
Yeah, Johan, right? Yeah.
Did he have his white skates at that point, or was he just rocking the black ones then?
Yeah, no, I think he had the white skates. Yeah.
What was your reaction when you first saw those?
I was just like, don't put me on his line. I can't play with a guy with white skates. No, I wanted to play with him. He was great. He was a really good player. So yeah, the white skates. I think he got rid of them at some point. But
they came back though with a vengeance.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, he was good. But yeah, like even like Mark Richardson was I think already really good friends with Danny Myers and Matthew Myers, and he was great. And it was really exciting. And then we had we went to France at the start of that year, and it was really exciting start to the year. I remember because obviously being able to be the captain and being the playoff champions, and then what we thought we were kind of I thought we had built a better team, to be honest, than what we had the year before. So it was a really exciting start to the season.
What was it like? Like, obviously Clark, went to go and play in Italy, but what's it like when you take David Clark out of that locker room?
Big loss for sure. Like he's everything, right, for the Panthers. Like
still is.
Still is, yeah. Such a personality, goal scorer, like commands respect. He was the best. And so to not have that, and I only had him for the 1 year before, but just even that, to not have him in the room that next year was a huge subtraction for sure, because he was such a presence, not only in the rink but in the community, like everywhere. Like he knew everybody in town. Everyone knows him. Obviously he backed it up on the ice. He'd score goals, get in fights, just like he was the best. And so that was a big loss for sure. Maybe that was what we were missing that year, to be honest.
He's just David is just a pro's pro. Like everything is yes. He always looks immaculate. He dresses immaculate. It's like Cam Jansen said to me, like, he speaks like a politician, but he's just one of the boys.
100%. Yeah. And that was the best thing about him. Like he was clean cut,
not 1 ounce of fat on him.
Yeah. Don't even, yeah. That was brutal. Like,
first day of camp.
He's going to the shower. I'll wait for a bit. I'll go in after. Well, he was my first roommate on the road. The first game, I think the first game of the year that's in my first year was in Belfast.
Oh,
and so we were.
That's a good first one.
Yeah, we were hotel room partners or whatever, not partners.
Roomies.
We shared a room anyway, roommates. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'll never forget walking into the hotel room for the first time and seeing the beds about an inch apart from each other. And I was just like, what's the story with this? Like, are we sleeping together or what? So yeah, it was like you just reach over and tap your buddy, good night, like, good night. So
you all look after each other.
Yeah, that's how you really build friendships, is sleeping an inch away from each other.
And then you mentioned Johan, but then obviously the other big addition is Kevin Burgin, comes in from Basingstoke. And obviously Kevin is a huge guy, can put up points. He does a bit of everything, plays defense, forward.
Yeah.
How important was he to that team?
Yeah, he was, well, again, he did everything, right? So, and it was good because he'd been around, like he played in the East Coast League over here. And so he was a professional, and he knew what had to happen and what he had to do, whether it was score a goal or get in a fight. And those guys are really rare, right? Like you don't see a whole lot of guys that can put everything together and then also be a good teammate, like, good in the room. He's a funny guy. You like to hang out with the guys away from the rink. And yeah, he was, and then, man, I'll never forget, like he would do everything. I remember, like, was it that year that Sean McMorrow was in the league, or was that
was the when you came back?
Yeah, I remember, like, he really felt like he had to fight Sean McMorrow, right? That was just in his mind. So now I'm jumping forward to the 20.
That's fine. But we'll jump back again in a minute. Continue.
And he was so psyched, like he was fully dressed, like in all of his equipment, like half an hour before the game, just sitting in his stall, just like getting himself. He knew he was fighting Sean McMorrow. And I was like, I just walked over. I'm like, hey man, like, like you don't have to fight him. Like, we need you for other things too. Like it was a big game too. It's always a big game against Belfast, and we were at home and you wanted to beat them. So I'm like, dude, you don't have to fight him, like whatever. And he said, okay. Or I can't remember what he said, but sure enough, I think it was the opening face-off. Maybe he was like, we're doing this. I was like, and that stuff gives me anxiety too, just like watching, because I'm like, please just don't get beat up. Like, and Bergie he was good enough a fighter. He would never get, like, really. I think McMorrow probably got the best of him, if I can remember. But
it's the fact he went with him, though, isn't it? That was the important thing, that he went with him.
Bergie's never going to be a guy that gets really beat up. Like, he knows how to fight, knows how to protect himself. But it always made me nervous seeing the big tough guys go at each other. You just don't want to see anyone get hurt, right, or anything. So, so going back, like, Bergie was just the ultimate teammate. Like, he'd do anything. And he'd score a big goal too or play defense, right? Like if he needed your short defense, he would jump in on D. So
you mentioned anxiety watching the big guys fight. You got to watch Ryan Schmier drop the gloves plenty of times.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And same thing. Like these guys, they can handle themselves, but you see these big 6'5" guys that throwing punches the way they throw, you're just like, okay, this is awesome. It gets you psyched up, but you don't want to see anything bad to happen to anyone either, right? So you just like, so he would take on all these guys, like, who was the big Cloutier from?
Oh, Brett Cloutier. Brett
Cloutier, and Voth was in the league, and Payet, the guy that you never know is going to do, right? So
I remember when he charged after Paul Moran for no reason.
Yeah, right. So he just like, and Smearsy again, like he knows his role, and especially over in the UK there, they like to see the tough guys go at it, and you kind of know, you got Cloutier coming to town, they're going to fight, right? So just you want your guy to be okay, right? Like Smearsy, a lot of time, he was a really close friend of mine when I was there, and line mate for a lot of the time I was there. So you want to see your buddies do well. So gave me a little anxiety and nervousness, just to, plus you want to see him win the fight too, if anything. So
and then you mentioned Payet, and I had the disc the day watching it at Exporting as well. The game where I mentioned he went after Paul, that all kind of started because they thought you shot after a whistle or something, and that's sort of this crazy chain of events that were so unnecessary when you watch it back.
Yeah, no, I did shoot after I was really close. I remember that play, actually. It was really close. Like it was a bang bang kind of whistle, and then I was
already in motion sort of thing.
Yeah, whatever, and it was a little excessive, but that stuff happens. I would have rather that he gave me a fair chance at a fair fight.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'd gladly stick up for myself if I had the chance. But to jump from behind and throw punches when I'm on the ice and stuff, that's you expect more out of people from than that. But he's a fiery guy, right? Like I can't say I have a record of perfection in hockey of not doing anything stupid to people. So
well, it's that red mist, isn't it? It just you don't know when it's going to come, but sometimes it just comes.
100%. So exactly. On one hand, saying he should have gave me a fair fight. I mean, I can't say I haven't sucker punched someone in the past either. So
I don't think any hockey player can.
Yeah, right. We're all perfect, right? It is what it is. So he's a fiery guy. He's an intense guy, as you could see on the ice. So it happens.
The game has over here, especially now, has like moved away from that kind of role. Like now, you have to be like you played a few games with Guy Lepin. You have to be a guy like him, where you can offer an actual substantial role and be the policeman.
Yeah, it's different everywhere. Over here in the NHL and different leagues, junior leagues, there's you don't see the stuff that you used to see, where it was the bench clearing brawls and things like that, which is probably for the best. I mean, the fans love it, but the game is better now than it's ever been, right? And excuse me, I remember even coming back for one of the testimonials and being at the rink when the guy at the team was practicing, and just thinking this is completely different than when I was here. Just see the intensity in practice and everything. So even in that point, it'd only been probably 4 or 5 years since I had left. I can't remember. I've been to 3 testimonials. I can't remember which one it was, or whatever it was. It wasn't.
Yeah, Corey's, Clarkie's, and Lacko's, I think were.
Yeah, it might have been
Stevie's.
Or Stevie's. No, it wasn't. Well, whatever it was. It was
one of them.
Yeah, I know Brad. So Moran was there. I can't. It was.
Oh, so that would have been 17. That would have been when Cam. No, that would have been when Cam was there. So that would have been Corey's.
I think it was Lacko's.
Lacko's was last year or the year before, like 2 years ago.
No, that was Stevie's. Anyways.
Whatever. Oh God, there's too many of them. Too many testimonials.
Let's look it up. No, but anyway, the point is just seeing the team practice and the intensity in practice, and it had come a long way in just those 3 or 4 years since I had left. So it was good, and that's the same as everywhere. The hockey is just getting better, and you don't necessarily see the guys that are kind of there just to fight, and which is good, because we're seeing now a lot of health issues and mental health issues and post-concussion syndromes and things like that with some of these guys that they're dedicated their role to fighting, and I have all the appreciation and respect in the world for those guys that did that. I couldn't even imagine that being my role. But yeah, you just see like nowadays you got to play. Everyone's got to be able to play, and there's still room for guys that can fight and stick up for themselves.
You've got the NHL starting last night, and guys fighting in empty arenas, which must be a whole different experience, to be honest, without the adrenaline.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I think they were talking about that on the TV. Just that's how you're really into the game, when you're really intense and focused. It's the crowd a lot of times gets you amped up and ready to go and everything. So to be able to kind of just manufacture that excitement, and then the fights, like there's one. Sometimes they just happen too, right? Like it's one thing to line up at a face-off and say, "Hey, we're fighting." Or I know there's one in the first game, the Montreal game, where the guys were just cross-checking each other in front of the net and decided to go. So that's stuff's just always going to happen for sure.
And then now, if we jump back in time to 2008, you winning the Challenge Cup in Sheffield, and I mentioned something Ryan Schmier did. I believe he scored in Sheffield and then went to high five their bench and got through out of the game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. What's your reaction when you see him do that?
I think I was like, "Come on, Schmiersy." Like, I mean, I get it totally. Like, again, I can't say I've done anything stupid in my life. So we all do stuff in the heat of the moment, and still do. But yeah, that was. I think that year we won it at home that year, actually.
Yeah, that was the first week you won 6-3.
Yeah, right. Okay. Oh yeah, you would know more than me.
Only because I watched it recently.
Okay. Yeah. No, I remember that game actually, and then I remember Schmiersy did that, and that got them all fired up, and because that's the other thing too. Like A, we're losing an important player, and then B, now you fire up the other team, and I think we got off to a good start, and I don't remember how it all played out, but anytime you got a team kind of down, the last thing you want to do is really get them all fired up and back into the game. So I think at that point I was like, Schmiersy, don't need to do that. But again, I get it. Like I totally get it for sure.
And then obviously you won the playoffs on inverted commas on home ice, because It is. But is it different winning it when it's an arena full of Panthers fans out on home ice? You win the Challenge Cup. How does that feel, and how does that differ to that playoff championship?
Yeah, well, quite a bit. It's always nice to win in front of your home fans and for them to be all your home. So obviously that playoff was the first experience of winning something in front of a lot of impartial people, right? Like, I don't know if people were cheering for one team or the other or not or whatever, but for the most part, they probably don't care who wins. But so that was different. But yeah, then the Challenge Cup the next year, and I was fortunate. I had the C, so I was able to grab the trophy, and that was the first time for me to be able to be the first one to touch it, and so that was cool. And then anytime you can win in front of your fans, especially, I'm sure there's probably 6,000 or 7,000 people there, right? So really cool experience.
And to do it against your biggest rivals as well must add to it. Just add that a little bit more.
Against the Steelers, yeah. And I think I remember that game. Like I think we lost. Was that that one we lost the game?
No, there was a few years where we lost the second leg because we got such a lead in the first leg. It just needed to play sensibly.
Yeah, I remember it was one of those, because I think 2 years later, which we'll probably get into, right? The Cardiff one. I think we were up that one too, but I remember thinking going into the home game, like, okay, we got a 3-goal lead, but I think they chipped away at it pretty early too, from what I remember.
Oh, the Cardiff one, they definitely did.
Oh, did they? Okay. So maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But again, but I think the Sheffield one ended up being close. I think Schmears scored a goal later in the game that kind of gave us another 2 or 3 goal cushion, maybe, if I remember right. But yeah, those are tricky because obviously it's important to get the lead in the first leg, but then if the other team scores right away or a couple right away, then you're man, like we're in a game here. And then obviously another different feeling too if you lose the game but still win the trophy. Yeah. That's interesting too, but take it wherever you can get them, right?
That's true. It's just one big 6-period game.
Yeah, and that's a tough mentality to have, right? But obviously that's what you need.
So do you have to go into that second leg thinking like, it's 0-0? We have to go into this as if it's just a one-off, or is it always in the back of your mind? Yeah, we've got a 3-goal lead. Yeah,
it's always in the back of your mind. Like for me, like, you can go into the game, and I think probably the right mentality is to be like, okay, this is a new game. We obviously, if we win this game, we're good. So let's just focus on, winning 3 periods here and doing that. But of course, in the back of your mind, it's like, okay, we got a 3-goal lead, and whether that gives you a little too much comfort or not, I don't know. But it's a different thing to wrap your head around, obviously, right? That you're going into a game that you already have the lead. I think it probably eases your mind. Like it makes you a little too comfortable, maybe, I guess you could say, even subconsciously, like even though you're trying to focus and, just win the game is the mentality. But yeah, it's tricky.
And then that year, there's no playoff finals weekend. I think Cardiff knocks out in the quarterfinals. At that point, were you ready to try something different? Because obviously that was like you then left for a year at that point.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think as much as I love Nottingham, I wanted to just kind of, and by that point I was getting to be, 20, 28 or whatever it was, 29, 28. So I knew that the years were kind of dwindling away, and I wanted to try something else before I, finished. So it was just the way it worked out. I think I had played with a guy in Long Beach the year before, my first year in Nottingham, on a line, and we did pretty well together. And I think he had played on that Danish team the year before. So he reached out to me and said, hey, we're looking for a couple guys. Would you be interested? And I think at that point I can't remember if I was leaning just coming back to Nottingham or not. I remember my mentality of like, if I was fully into just going somewhere else. I don't think I was. I think I was just looking and, was going to treat it as an option. I didn't say to myself, oh, I'm definitely leaving Nottingham. I'm going to go somewhere else. As soon as that opportunity came, it was like, yeah, this seems right. And, something different. And there was a few different things too that helped, but it was just mostly just to try something else.
And how often during that season in Denmark was Corey texting you saying, are you sure you like it over there? Do you want to come back? Because at that point, Corey's taken the reins then, that year you were away.
Did he say that, or are you just asking that?
I'm asking if he did, but your smirk is telling me a story.
Oh, no, I don't know. this is the thing.
I'm just curious because I know Corey always talks about he chases guys for a long time. That was always his thing.
and that's why that sounds like something that would probably happen. So much as, but I was definitely in touch with people. Like I remember I came back to the playoff final that year at the weekend because we were down in Denmark, and I took a flight over. So I was definitely in touch with people still, and obviously following the team. So that sounds like something Corey would try and do, is just say, it can't be that good over there. Just come back over here.
You're not playing with me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How could you have a better coach than me?
So at what point did you and Corey get to talking about you seriously coming back to Nottingham for 2009-10?
It was probably when I was there for the playoff weekend, I assume. But definitely early in the summer, like I remember coming back and I think having conversations with him pretty early. And I think I had already decided that I was going to come back again. Like I had kind of done my little European tour and tried it out, and I was comfortable in Nottingham, and I liked everyone there, and there was a lot of the same guys around, so it didn't take much. It wasn't a long conversation anyway, and I think it was pretty early in the summer too.
And as we get on to Corey in a bit of detail, I think I'll do that now. Corey's become quite the character on this show based on people, how they talk about him. You've already told the story about how he tell you how good he was as a defenseman, how many points he scored and things. And he has a very, I'm going to call it a British sense of humor that takes guys sometimes a while to adjust to.
Yeah.
How did you find Corey overall? Because people generally do love Corey Neilson. He just takes a bit of time to warm up to.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's an acquired taste for sure, and I think he'll probably admit that. It took me a little while. Like I was never overly like, who's this guy? Like whatever. I'm a pretty easygoing guy. Like it takes a lot to kind of offend me, but yeah, there were some things I noticed that he would, his introduction to people was, "Hi, I'm Corey. Nice to meet me," right? And things like that, and going around and high-fiving fans after the game. I don't know, just little things are just like, okay, that's not the way I would do it, but whatever. Everyone's different, so.
He's definitely different.
I felt a little bad for him because there was a couple guys on the team who kind of gave it to him a little bit hard in the first month or two, trying to bring him back down to earth maybe. And I remember there was I think Corey's first, we did a Christmas gag gift. Maybe he would hate me telling this story, but whatever.
He won't listen to it. He doesn't listen to this show.
Yeah, no one listens to this anyway, do they?
Well,
no, we did a Christmas.
More players than I thought do.
What's that?
More players than I thought do listen to it.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, if it's just players, that's fine. Then we can talk about a lot of different things. No, we had a gag gift party. We had designated a guy. And,
I've seen some of these gifts from recent years.
Yeah. And so the gift that Corey got was kind of harsh. Like it was basically a book or a story that someone had made that Corey had to stand up and read in front of the guys, but it was about himself, and it was kind of mean, to be honest. But I left the room actually because I knew about it, and then so when it was Corey's turn, I think we were at a little lounge or something. I went and got a beer or something like that because I was just like, I can't watch this. This just makes me uncomfortable. So a few of the guys were a little bit tough on him, but he'd probably admit he brought it on himself. Like he was a little bit arrogant when he started, but he came off an awesome season in the East Coast League, and Corey, he likes himself a lot, so that's just the way he is. But he turned out to be.
He's got big, broad shoulders. He can take it.
That's it, and that's 100% right. Is he can take it, and that's the best part about it. And Corey, he turned out to be one of my best friends over there. So he, after a couple of months of him taking a little abuse, he settled in, and obviously tremendous time in Nottingham. The time he was there, so everything worked out. But the first couple of months were interesting for sure.
And was there a difference between Corey Neilson, the player coach, and Corey Neilson, the player, when you got back in 2009?
That's a good question. Well,
you ask one per episode, so I don't worry, there won't be any more challenging ones.
Yeah, no, you're making me think. Well, not really, I guess. Like he was definitely, more dedicated to coaching. And again, it was the same kind of, like we talked about earlier with Mike. It's a new role, right? So you have to kind of separate yourself, and you're not just Corey, the teammate now. You're Corey, the coach, which also plays, but there still has to be that kind of separation it's a weird dynamic because I'm a guy that's gonna, if I'm on the bench and I don't think you're playing well enough, I'm gonna kind of try and let you know in one way or another. But so when Corey, the coach, isn't playing great, or if he makes a bad pass, like it's a different dynamic to be like, Corey, get your head out of your ass or whatever, right? Like, but he's your coach too, so it makes it a little tricky. But I guess back to the original question, like, yeah, he had to create that separation. But all in all, I mean, Corey's never going to change. Like, Corey's going to be the same guy, no matter what he is, right? He's going to be sarcastic. He's got that sense of humor. He's going to kind of make you feel bad about yourself a little bit, but in a good way. So, but that's just how he is. And that's how he motivates guys too. Like, he motivated me. We do video sessions and he'd make sarcastic comments, and like, I got it. Like, oh yeah, I need to be better. So that's how he kind of got through to guys. So, but that's just his personality too. So I guess all in all, he wasn't too different as a person, or whether he was a coach or a player.
That's one of the things that you always see, like Corey. He's a hockey nerd. He loves the game. But he was also a real players coach as well. Because obviously he was a player at the time. He knew what you guys didn't like. He was in the room and out of the room. But he seemed to get that dynamic more right than most do.
Yeah, too, right? And so the best thing that he did for that team was bring his offensive approach. And what I gathered was that he really knew how to, I don't know if inspire is the right word, but get his top players maybe inspired to play, because he would, a lot of times you do video clips and you're showing, breakdowns or in the D zone or whatever, right? You're teaching, but he would throw in clips of guys scoring goals and be like, look at this awesome goal. And, he'd really pump the guys, that were doing good things and really boosting their egos. That's kind of what I was getting at, was boosting their egos. So he was really good at that. As much as he can be sarcastic and, expects perfection, which is a great attribute of a coach, he's also good at boosting your ego and making you think that you're awesome. And, so, which is, a sign of a good coach. So he kind of had a good balance there of how, and I think that helped being a player, because he obviously in the past, he would know what he needed from coaches to get himself going or whatever. So he kind of brought that to the table, I guess. And it helps being such a gifted player too, because you see a lot of coaches that come in, they were just kind of average players or less than average players. And, they have different ways of motivating. And there's a lot of guys that are great coaches that were just not great players, to be honest. But it helped that Corey had that star kind of power too, that he, knew. He's like, no, don't do it this way. Do it this way. Like, this is what you should do. And that's how I do it. But he was also cognizant of the fact that guys turn into better players than he was. And so I think that was probably his goal too, is that, any job of his coach is to make guys better. So he was really good at that too.
And then he had a very interesting character riding shotgun with him that year as assistant coach in Bruce Richardson. Now, have you ever met anyone as, I'm going to say, intense as Bruce when it's game time?
No, I was scared of Bruce. Like, I came across Bruce somewhere, I don't know where, like back early 2000s somewhere. I was playing against him, I think, or came across him, and I was like, God, like I wasn't scared of many people, but he's speaking of anxiety. I remember I was like, geez, I don't want to come across this guy on the ice. Like, he might take my head off, like in numerous different ways. But no, he was, but obviously being on his team is the best, because you don't have many guys like that are just so intense and such team guys that they take it on their shoulders to, make sure the team is ready, right? Like, for the most part, I think a lot of hockey players, like, we're all team guys, but for the most part, guys are, they make sure they're ready to go. They focus on themselves to make sure they're ready. Bruce took it on. It was his job to make sure everyone was ready, right? Like, he was always ready, so that was never an issue. But he knew, like, we weren't going to win unless everyone was ready. So he took it upon himself more than anyone I've ever seen to just make sure guys are motivated and ready for in every game too, not just like every game.
Well, pound for pound, probably one of the toughest guys to ever play over here as well.
Yeah, 100%. Just like a little bulldog, and again, gotten some big fights with Finnerty there that got to see online and firsthand, and
Hewitt.
obviously Hewitt, yeah, right. So just that's one of those guys that he would take on anyone. It was fun to watch.
And then that's also like the first year that you've had in Nottingham where you get one goalie for the whole season in Kevin St. Pierre. Now, obviously, a first I imagine is playing with a four-fingered goalie. I've spoke to Kevin and heard all about all
that's right.
but he was just huge, wasn't he? Like physically massive. I can't imagine what it's like trying to shoot on him in training.
Big man, yeah, he's a really big man, so he takes up a lot of the net, which is important. But yeah, he was great. And again, like it's the thing I liked a lot about those last couple of years. Like the first year, I didn't know anyone, but coming in, but the last 2 years, like there was a lot of guys that knew each other from previous teams or whatever. Like I think Bruce and Kevin are friends from Canada.
They played together or
played together and then stayed friends. And I guess that's how I mean, that's important for recruiting, I guess, when you're in Europe. So that makes sense. Like, people that are available or whatever. So, but it really helps that you have some friendships already and guys know each other. And then Kevin, he was great. Like just one of the most laid back, easygoing guys ever. And, but intense when he had to be in the net, right? And he was great. Yeah. And also huge, which helps being a goalie from what they say.
Yeah, relatively normal for a goalie as well, from what I can gather.
Yeah. Like weirdly normal, I guess. Comparing him to other goalies, I guess that's, like strangely normal. Just like you wouldn't peg him as a goalie, just, like 100% normal too. Yeah. So.
One guy you developed chemistry with Cameron Mann quite quickly. You two were kind of together, and they always tried to plug someone else next to you. It would eventually be Jay Henderson towards the back of it. What did you enjoy about playing with Cameron so much?
Well, he was a great player, NHL caliber player, right? So that helped a lot right from the start. And then we developed a friendship off the ice. We were close. We would hang out. Sometimes the older guys seem to gravitate toward each other when it's going for a beer or whatever, just or having a beer on the bus. So I guess we all did, but we would gravitate toward each other and just, as friends a little bit more. And so that helps always, but he's just a heck of a hockey player. So that just made it really easy for me I think if you want to look to any answers on why it worked, that would be the two main reasons, and mostly that he was just really good. No, we were buddies. I mean, I was friends with everyone, but we gravitated toward each other a little more. And, so that helped too. Like we'd hang out with each other more away from the rink and stuff. So,
and the last one individual guy I want to just focus on for a second is Jay Galbraith. Now I've had Jade on here. He said he wished he'd taken the sport more seriously, but it was just who he was. Have you ever seen someone as naturally gifted as him before?
If I have, not many. I get asked about Jade quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit, but recently actually. Someone I work with is from Hinton, where Jade's from. So my boss actually at work is from Hinton. So he asked me about Jade the other day, and I was like, I hadn't remembered that Jade was from Hinton, but just when someone asks me about Jade, it's just all I talk about is just one of the best talents ever. Like some of the things he did on the ice, I'd never seen anyone do before. And so again, a guy that when I got to play with, like the amount of times you look at the goals I scored that year, like probably at least 5 or 6 of them were tap in backdoor where Jade went around the whole team and sucked the goalie over and then just dished it over to me for an empty netter. Like it's just easy. You just have your stick on the ice in front of the net and you're going to get goals. So he was, and I'm glad that he admits that.
I've had enough people on here to know he isn't for everyone.
Yeah, we had some moments, him and I, we're different personalities, and don't get me wrong, we were tight, like we were friends, but there's, it's not always going to be.
Well, that's part of it, isn't it? Like when you are close, you can be honest with each other like that when you're in that room.
Yeah, and we're just two different personalities, right? He's the easygoing, and he can this is just this isn't something he did, but he's the kind of guy that could sit in the room until 5 minutes before the game and then throw his stuff on quick and maybe have a Diet Coke and then go out and score 3 goals, right? I'm not saying that's what he did, but that's just the kind of guy he is. Where some of us other ones are the ones that have to, go through a routine and, mentally prep or whatever, right? So I guess in a sense that was kind of annoying that he could just step on the ice and make it happen. But we're 2 different personalities. So there's, we got into it a couple times together, but not nasty or anything, but just you know.
So you talk about different, like people need different things to motivate them. He said one of his biggest things that as he went on in Nottingham, one of the biggest motivating things, because the fans would get on his back about, like, you know, he liked to go out and enjoy himself and things. He said he loved going out on a Friday night and scoring a hat trick because no one would say a word to him.
Yeah, and that's again just Jay's one of those guys, you know, as a coach. Obviously, I never coached him, but he's the kind of guy that as a coach, you just like, I don't know, do you bend the rules a little bit and just let Jade be Jade? Because, you know, as far as I'm concerned, if he's showing up and scoring goals and doing the things he does, then he can basically do whatever he wants. He's an adult, and
whatever works for you.
As long as you're getting the top performance out of him, then whatever. If it's going out on Friday and having a few beers, and then makes no difference to me or anyone else that I know. Just as long as you're performing on the ice, then have at it. But yeah, he was a heck of a talent. A lot of fun to play with too, just because he was always so loose and funny and always joking around, even on the ice, on the bench, just kind of joking and keeping things light, and that makes it fun.
And then after being away from the Elite League for a year, how much did you miss those Panthers versus Steelers games, and especially those ones on Boxing Day and the day after? Because that's two sold out barns back to back. Like, I don't imagine there's much like that you can actually experience, you know, I imagine in North America and in Europe, that kind of, like, you know, 16,000 fans 2 nights straight.
Yeah, there's not much. I mean, the odd time here in North America, like in junior, you'd have your local rivals. Like I played junior here in Calgary, and there's 2 or 3 teams that are within a couple hours of each other. So you have that, but yeah, you're right, not quite to that extent. And then Denmark was nothing like that. Like there was not really a whole lot of places that got a lot of fans, to be honest. And we didn't really we had a team that was only 45 minutes away from us, but it wasn't really a rival of any sort. Like the schedule was so spread out too. I remember in Denmark, the schedule was set as in it stayed in the same order the whole year. So you would play, you never had back-to-backs or anything.
Okay.
You'd play every team consecutively, and then you would just start over.
Oh.
Yeah, it was the same order. And but like vice versa, home and away, like you would, right? So, but yeah, you would never play, you played everyone once every 10 games or whatever it was. There was never any back-to-backs or home and away on a weekend or stuff like that. So
there's nothing lingering for the next game, sort of thing.
Right. Like you're not playing. There's definitely at least 3 or 4 weeks between games against the same team, right? If not a little bit longer. But, so yeah, of course I miss that. Like just to be able to have that again, like I said before, you circle on the calendar. Like we got Sheffield home and away Saturday, Sunday, and you know there's going to be 8,000 fans of each one, just like screaming and cheering, and that's the kind of stuff you live for. Like you guys retire from hockey, and you know that's what you miss the most is those atmospheres and those, you know, kind of a hatred. Like, and I miss that. You miss that stuff where you actually have a bit of a hatred for that team, and you just like you want to throw that extra hit, or you know, jump into a fight if it happens, or you know, you put that big goal or whatever, right? So that's the stuff that you miss.
Is the color orange not still tricky to this day then?
I don't let anything orange in the house. Yeah. So.
I love it. And then that year you do win another championship. So a championship every year in Nottingham. It's another Challenge Cup, this time against Cardiff.
Right.
Now that's one ring we haven't spoken about, is the big blue tent, which no one that I've spoken to enjoyed going there, especially because Cardiff always built their teams for that arena.
Right. Yeah, it was the worst. Yeah, totally the worst. Like, and the starting point was driving up to it on the bus, and you see this tent literally shaking in the wind, and you're thinking this is a hockey arena. But yeah, I remember. Yeah, the dressing rooms were fine, like decent size, I guess. So there's no real problem, and they were new, so whatever. It wasn't big of a problem. But yeah, just little tiny ice surface, which I think there was another one where they had public skating before the game. Yeah. So the ice was all chewed up and not great. And then you got Voth running around and
doing what he wants,
being an idiot like usual. And I can say that I'm friends with Brad, so I can call him an idiot, and he won't care. But yeah, but they had him.
Good player though.
Really good player, yeah, good career. But they had like Phil Hill. I don't know why that name stands out, but big guy,
big British kid, yeah.
I think they had a couple other big defensemen. So it was tough going in there. There's not much room to operate, and the fans are kind of again on top of you and yelling at you and stuff. And so it was an interesting place and not my favorite for sure.
Because one of the things, like you mentioned that when you were quote unquote coaching on the bench and you tried to pull the goalie in the cup, from what I understand from talking to people, Cardiff actually did that in that Challenge Cup final, and you actually scored. Now,
oh, really?
I believe there's no footage of it anywhere, so it can never be proven or disproven unless I can try and get Gary to try and dig out a game sheet or something.
Yeah.
But apparently they pulled the netminder to put you 2 up.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. I was just about to say you'll never get confirmation from me because I don't remember, but that kind of does actually ring a bell. That might happen. That sounds familiar.
Because then again, you come back home with a lead again, and that's the one where they get a couple of goals back quickly. And and I don't know if you remember, but St. Pierre was actually injured during the game, like he torn his groin or something. Because after that, he didn't play again until the playoffs or something.
Okay, yeah.
So he's there battling through this, and like it's that situation again. Like I said, where you probably prefer to be 1 down going home in a final rather than 2 up to motivate you.
Yeah, maybe. Well, they say that's right. They say the 2-goal lead is the worst lead in hockey, and I always kind of question that, but it kind of makes sense because when you're 1 up, you're kind of a little bit, you're still intense, but 2 up, you get that extra little cushion. We talked about being like a little too comfortable maybe, and so, and especially starting a game with a 2-goal lead, like you're probably not as intense as you should be, I guess. But I remember that, and so did they actually tie the game?
I think they tied up pretty quick. Yeah. I remember. I think the one that put us ahead or ahead for good was the one where Gascon scored when he was on the floor.
Oh,
he reached around the back of his head and just I remember I was in the stands for that. I was like, oh my God, that is the best goal I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's funny. I have a copy of that game actually on DVD, but it doesn't work in no one has DVD players anymore anyway, do they? But I still do actually.
I've got a copy of the game, so I can email a copy of it to you.
Oh yeah, do that actually. Because I tried to, this is long ago. Obviously the different formats, the DVDs, doesn't work. But
the footage is very 2010. I will say that.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
It's watchable because like we put games on YouTube from 2007 and things.
Yeah.
Like this weekend we've got a game against Coventry going up on Sunday. So people do watch them and they are watchable. I will email you a copy of that cup final because I do have it, and the Sheffield one because I have that one as well.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good. That's good. I didn't know you guys were doing that, and then Moran, he texted me a clip of me getting punched in front of the net or something like that, and
so I clip out highlights throughout the game of little skirmishes, goals, and big saves and posts.
Yeah, so now I've been watching, especially the ones that I was involved in. I've been checking it out and watching the different highlights and stuff. It's kind of cool. So I was happy to see. I had no idea I don't go on Twitter a whole lot, so I didn't know until Brad shared that little footage with me. So that was a cool idea. But I remember in that game too, I think Mark Smith had a rush on net with like 30 seconds left. We were up by 1, I think it was.
Yeah, we won it by you won it by 1 in the end.
Yeah, Mark Smith was their top guy, I think, that year. He had a rush on net in the last shift anyway that was pretty dangerous. So there were some tense times. But that was a good series. And I think, you're right, maybe better they did tie it up right away because it just gets you, okay, boys, like we're in a game here, we got to get going. So
and then you get that whole experience of going out on the balcony with the fans in the plaza and stuff, which is, I imagine, a very cool experience.
Yeah, again, another.
But you are center of attention there, so I don't know whether you.
I always stay at the back, so the fans would chant who they wanted to come out, and they never chanted for me. So I just stayed at the back and laughed or whatever. And then, that was Danny and I still joke. I remember, I think it was the playoff victory. We did it, and we were all there, and we had a beer, and we were this is awesome. And then we looked around, and I think it was Craighead that was beside. We're like, what the heck is he doing here? He was just joining in and having some fun, I guess. But we still joke about that as we had the whole team up there, and then Craighead was with us, but. I actually don't know him personally, but we had a laugh about that. But
you can't miss him with his afro and.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't care. It was like, the more the merrier. Come on and party or whatever. So, but that was different. That was a cool experience too. And that was the thing. So after winning the first one, the playoffs, it was almost something that was in the back of my head too. Like obviously winning the Challenge Cups, like you want to win a trophy, but it was almost kind of the aftermath too why I wanted to win even more, because just anytime you win a trophy is awesome, but then thinking about the celebration in the room, and then going up to the balcony and doing the stuff with the fans. And then that was kind of the stuff that motivated me too, because I wanted that whole experience again, like not just lifting the trophy, just the whole kind of thing that came with it too. It was just such a special thing. And then going out into the town with the team, to the lounge or the bar or pub or whatever with the trophy. And so kind of that all encompassing kind of, celebration is what, motivated me too, to keep, wanting to win more and more.
And obviously that year was like your last year as a full-time professional player. Did you know that was going to be your last year after the playoff game against Belfast?
No. Well, I had an idea, not really decided. It got to a point that, anyone will say like playing professional hockey is the best thing ever. Your friends say, "Oh, I can't believe you," but at the end of the day too, it sometimes turns into a job, right? It's a job. And so I'll admit, like the last year or two, around January, February time, I think, man, like maybe this is it. Like maybe I should just settle down and get a job at home. And because moving back and forth is not easy. You're packing up your life every 6 months, and there's a lot that goes into it too, right? So, my dad had talked to me about joining the fire department in Calgary. He was a firefighter in Calgary, and he made a comment to me during the season that, if you're ever going to think about it, now is the time, because they're really desperate and hiring guys and recruiting guys. And so things like that just stick in the back of your head. But to answer your question, I hadn't decided. I had an idea that maybe, I think my plan was just to get home and see how I felt and give it some time, which a lot of guys do, right? But it wasn't too long after. I think I had talked to Corey and about coming back, and it was only a matter of weeks, I think, that I just said, I think that's it. I'm not going to come back.
But that wasn't the end of your time with the Nottingham Panthers. You had a brief cameo that I have so many questions about, how this happened, how this came about.
I was wondering if you're going to go there or not.
Oh, I have to. I can't. It'd be such a big question mark if I didn't go there. So tell me about this little spell in 2011, 2012.
Yeah, probably one of the most least popular situations in, Panthers fans history.
Hey, you scored at home. It was a good moment. I remember that.
That was fun. That was pretty cool. Yeah. I was sitting around. What was I doing? I wasn't doing much. I was coaching a team here in Calgary, a midget AAA team. And I was looking for work. I wasn't working yet, I don't think, but I was starting to kind of look around for work. And then Goody, I think, had initiated it like he always does. He reached out and mentioned that they were, looking. I can't remember what the situation, whether it was injuries or I don't remember what the situation was there, but just that they were looking for players. And I thought, that's something. I'd kept in relatively decent shape. I was playing just rec hockey here or whatever. And I thought, but the only hang up was that I was looking for work. And I think I was actually kind of somewhat far along in the process of dealing with the guy and then I was also coaching this team, right? So I felt the responsibility. I was the head coach. So I felt the responsibility to that. So we worked out a deal where I would kind of come back and forth and make it work as I could. And then eventually just be back for, the last few weeks before the playoffs and then for playoffs, obviously. So that was kind of the arrangement. And the team was super accommodating for whatever reason. Like I always assumed they could have found other full-time players, but maybe it was because I had been there and there was a history. And I came in for the first weekend or the first 2 weekends. I think I was there for 2 weeks. Yeah, played 2 weekends of games, and then came home like I was scheduled to. And then everything kind of just fell on my plate. I got an offer for this job. I had already actually I had an offer the first time back in. I can't remember when it was, but I turned it down. I think maybe because I knew I was coming back to Nottingham. And then when I came back for that little stint, I think they offered me it again, and I was thinking like I probably shouldn't turn this down. Like if I'm looking forward to moving on with the next chapter of my life, which I hadn't done. I think I was home for about a year and a half to that point, or whatever it was, or a year. So I felt really bad. Like it was a tough situation, and I don't know what else to say about it.
Even though it was just 3 years, how nice was it to see guys like Goody, Corey, David Clark again? Let's do my obligatory Goody segment now about how important he is to the team.
It was, well, to answer your first question, it was the best, and I'll be the first one to admit, like, I told Chris Ellis a few years ago, anyone that has a testimonial, I don't even care if I know them, I'm coming back. Like, no. So my point is, I look for any excuse to come back and any reason to come back, because I love it there. I love being there, and especially playing there. So when I first proposed to the team that I would come, but then I'd have to kind of come in and out, I thought for sure it would just be a hard no. But they were accepting of it, and I was like, okay.
It's kind of like the deal that Johan had in 9-10.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was going home.
Yeah, and then he was coming in for odd weekends. And
right.
Yeah, it's kind of the same as that. So it wasn't without precedent. Yeah,
true, I guess. So thanks, Johan, for that, I guess. But yeah, so it was awesome. I love coming back, and especially to play, right? Like, the testimonials are fun. They're different situations, but I was jumping into the league play and getting those competitive juices going again, right? So it was, and then seeing all the guys that I really like being around and playing with. So, and then Goody's important in a lot of different ways, honestly. Like, he's not just the equipment guy, he's a
psychiatrist.
And there was, we had a lot of sessions over beer, like in his condo, and then a lot of closed door stick room meetings about not just hockey, life stuff. Like, we talked about a lot. Yeah, he was a close friend, and still is. We don't communicate a whole lot right now, but that's the way it goes. But yeah, he was tight. He's an important person, and got involved in decisions for the team. We talked to Corey and talked to Mike about things with the team and the lineup and stuff. So he was, I think he'd been there since he was a kid, right? Basically.
I think he was born in the old arena.
Yeah, right. So he's an important person. Yeah, and we were close, and yeah, like I said, I went to him for a lot, not just to sharpen my skates and to get me a new stick. I mean, it was a lot more than that, and at the rink and away from the rink too. So.
And when you're around that team you were there for a brief while, but it's a very different Panthers team. You've got like David Alexander Beauregard is on the team, Jordan Fox, Craig Kowalski, Matt Francis, Brandon Benedict. These are players of consequence for the Panthers for numerous years. Could you tell that there was something special in that room at that point, even though you were around them very briefly?
Yeah, no, there was definitely that. Well, we talked about it before. There's that right core that's there, right? Like, you got David, you got Danny, you got Matt. These guys are just like leaders, right? They're just natural leaders, and you look at any championship teams, they have to go through those tough times. And yeah, we won some trophies, and those are just little bits and pieces that are teaching moments, right? Okay, and so then that just builds toward something great. And then you start filling in with the right pieces, like these guys like Jordan Fox and Beauregard, and these guys are amazing players, right? So, like, obviously that helps, but and then you get Jonathan Weaver in there the 1 year, and David Lang. Like, these guys are amazing hockey players. Like, there's a team of just awesome players, right? Like, in our years, we had a lot of good players, but a little less or more scattered, I guess. But
it's the standard of the league goes up every year. It's just the natural progression of things, isn't it? Like when you were there, that was the standard, and then that's just how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you just tell that it was building in the right place, and a lot of these younger British guys that had kind of been through the tough times and learned the ropes, and and then you start filling in, complimenting them with these great imports that were coming in. Like, it was only a matter of time, obviously, before a couple more playoffs, and then obviously the league title, and then the rest of it. So, and then we got Corey at the helm, who's, I probably didn't even get the best of Corey. Like, he was a first-year coach when I was there, first or second year, and just kind of learning that side of the thing. And don't get me wrong, he was great, but just like anything else, you learn as you go.
But by all accounts, he peaked and got better and better when he was forced to retire and go behind the bench and stop logging all those minutes.
Best organizational move ever.
There are a few players who agree with that, who I've spoken to.
Just get them off the ice, sucking up all those minutes.
In every situation.
Let the kids play. Yeah.
Well, I remember talking to Craig Kowalski, and he goes, "I was so Corey retired, thank God." And then they put Jordan Fox in front of me, who just dangles up and down with it.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to give me a heart attack.
Yeah, but that's another piece too, and that's a good point, because I think you mentioned like Kevin was the first time that we had a full-time goalie, but it's pretty tough to win a league championship when you're firing your goalie, halfway through the year or whatever.
Every year.
And every year, and then making changes, significant changes in different positions too. Like I haven't looked back, but I'm sure if you look back at the teams who win the league championship, they're pretty solidified from the start of the year to the end of the year. Like maybe a couple of changes here and there, but
they don't have any changes, and they don't get not many injuries is also the huge one, because
you
can just plug and play your 4 lines and just that's it.
And then but goaltending. So that was my point, I guess, with goaltending. You get a guy like Kowalski in there who's proven talent and complete gamer. And intense as he was. I think I played with him for those 2 weekends.
Yeah.
I was there, but didn't really get a whole lot of time to play with him. But a great guy, like fits in well, because some of the times the goalies are the ones off in the corner by themselves, right? But he was just a regular guy that fit in with the team, and that helps.
Obviously, from talking to you for all this, it's clear that your time in Nottingham meant a lot to you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, it's the time. I have a lot of good memories throughout, between junior and playing pro. I think it was 14, 15 years, but a lot of good memories, and I had fun everywhere I went, and met some friends everywhere I went. But yeah, Nottingham stands out. Well, it was the place I spent the most amount of time in too, like other than junior hockey, but throughout pro hockey, I never spent any more than 2 seasons in a place. So having those 3 years there with a lot of the same people was important. And it's just I just look back at the city itself, and I really like the city and the people, and it all factors into everything. But it's the time I probably look back on that time the most, those 3 years. Yeah.
And then I'm going to test your memory one last time before I let you go, because you've been very generous with your time today, and I can't thank you enough. But yeah. I have one. If I have one rule on this show, it's that the final story has to be a funny story. So, and it can be on ice, off ice. It can involve anyone. You can keep people nameless if you would prefer, but a story that from your time in Nottingham that makes you laugh when you think back about it.
I wasn't going to tell the story, but I will. But it was off ice. We were Danny Myers. If you ever have him on, he'll tell you about it too. And there's nothing too crazy. Actually, I had 2, but I'll stick to this one. We were at a lounge one night, and they had this promotion going where they had this ice sculpture up on the bar. And so what it was, I think they were promoting some sort of like drink or like a shot or something like that. And so I think what the story was, this big ice sculpture, like it was probably, I don't know, 3 feet high, and it was big, and they had a little like ramp down the middle of it. So like one of the people running the promotion would pour a little of the drink down the ramp, and you have to sit under it with your mouth open and take the shot or whatever. And so at some point during the night, this turned into like just our area. Like we were just surrounding this ice sculpture. And then it just started getting ridiculous, as you can imagine. Like guys were dipping their beer down there. And then I think this was back in the time when you could smoke in the bar. So I can't remember who it was smoking, but then they would get someone to drop the cigarette butt or cigarette down and then catch it on the other end of it. Just stupid stuff, right? So it was a fun night. And by the end of the night, like we were just, obviously we had a few drinks. And I decided that I wanted to own this ice sculpture. So I called the bartender over. I was like, I'll give you £5 for this ice sculpture. And he was like, what? Like, it's not even mine. Like, go, like, whatever. I'll take your £5, you idiot. But sure. Like, I think the promotion was over. Like, all the people that were running the promotion were gone. So he was like, I don't care. Yeah, get it out of here. So I'm like, great. I own this ice sculpture now. This is awesome. And so then we started thinking, well, how are we going to get it out? Like, how am I going to get this out of here? So we started like padding it with these little napkins. They're like this big, like just little square napkins. We started padding it, putting napkins all over it to get a grip, to be able to carry it out. So finally we got it all gripped up or padded up. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to just jokingly, I'm going to try and walk out of here with it. So I took about 2 steps and it dropped in the middle of the bar and just shattered everywhere, all this ice. And I literally just kept walking through the door out to the street. I'm like, this is my time to just leave this place and get out of here. So So anyway, I don't know who cleaned it up or whatever, and I don't even know if that's an appropriate story or not, but that's one we always used to joke about. And then so an on-ice one I was going to tell you was I always have problems with people spelling my last name. And one of the most popular ones kind of before my time in Nottingham was McAslan. It was McAsIan instead of LAN, which I don't understand that mistake, but it started happening more and more. I'd go to, you go on road trips and you go to a hotel and they'd be handing out coach be handing out your room keys and with your last name on it, and it'd be McAsIan, occasion. And then, so I can't remember what year it was, but I just came across a picture of it recently where I think halfway through the year we got new jerseys made, like just to, I don't know, to sell the ones from the first half of the year. Well, is it Mike Hicks that was the ref?
Yes,
there?
yes,
Doing
the CH Sports stuff.
Yeah. Hixies, yeah. Well, he put McAslan on the back of my jersey. So I was like, goody, what the hell is this? Like, we were in Cardiff in the big blue tent, and I'm like, goody, what the hell is this? Like, my jersey says McAslan. He's like, wow, nothing we can do about it. You got to play with it tonight. So I was like, oh my God. So I'm skating around this game. And like I said, I know Voth pretty well from back home. We're good buddies. So like every time I skated by the bench, he was like, nice shift, McAslan. Like, nice shot, McAslan. So yeah, I didn't leave. So I have a picture of it somewhere actually. So I just came across it the other day. I was like, okay, maybe that's a good funny story to tell.
Oh, it's a shame Hicksy wasn't reffing that game.
Well, yeah, I wish he would have. I would have fired a shot off his shins or something like that. But anyways, you got an on-ice story and an off-ice story, and that's all.
And plenty of other stories in between.
I'm sure if Danny would have got back to me, he would have reminded me of more funny stuff.
He'll text you back as soon as this ends.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, perfect timing.
That's it. Yeah, there have been. I got an on-ice story, an off-ice story, so many in between, and I cannot thank you for all of your time today. This has been a pleasure. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on and including me. It's nice. It's always nice to talk about the Nottingham Times. So I appreciate it.
10 chances to win £500 to spend on your heart and home. Every RSA home insurance policy taken out in May and June through the Nottingham will be entered into the prize draw where 10 different people will win. Speak to your local branch or get an online instant quote now. For full terms and conditions, visit thenottingham.com.